You know, I got such a positive reaction to this little throwback last week. I just decided, you know what? I think from now on, I'm just going to do my weekly updates like this. We'll call this the News Desk. Let's talk about this week. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update. And like I said, we got a little format change here. So many people really liked the throwback to when I first started the channel last week because I was having audio issues and the cord wouldn't reach to my computer. But I've actually replaced that cord now. But I just said, you know what? Hey, let's just go for something a little different. So on Fridays when we do weekly updates, I'll be doing it from this chair here. Changes absolutely nothing about the channel, but you know, I like to talk about it. So what is up, guys? Lots of things have happened this week. Lots of things to talk about. Lots of things are going to happen next week. So let's get into it with what am I reading, guys? I am still working on Dead House Gates. And you know what? I actually had some people being like, well, gosh, how long are you going to take with it? As long as it takes, guys. When I started this series, I said, I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to force it. I'm going to take my time and take as long as I need to with it. And I have kind of stayed true to that. I think the day will be days. I've been 15, 16 days I've been working on this. I got about 150 pages left. I'm in the last section now. Things are really popping off in a good way. But the thing with this, guys, is just, we got until the end of the month. So, where's the fire? But I've also finished a couple of books in between that. I finished, Wintertide. I finished, what was something else I finished during that time? Oh, Alice in Wonderland, if you count that as one day. And then I also finished the new Stephen King book this week, which was later. I'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute. But guys, if you haven't picked this up yet, do yourself a favor. I don't care if you're a King fan or not. This is a bloody brilliant book. And like I said, I'm going to talk about it a little more here in a minute. But a very busy week of reading with Malazan. It's one of those things where I feel like you'll be reading what feels like hours, and you feel like and then you'll look back and see you've read 20 pages. It's amazing how that works, right? So, I think I never want to hear the word dense ever again when I'm reading a book. But I've had my struggles with sections of it, and I've had the stuff that I really like. And I'm in a section right now that I'm just loving. It feels so good to have some of these, I don't want to say theories confirmed, because that doesn't happen with Malazan, guys. Just some things that I wanted to see happen or finally start to happen, and I'm feeling really good about them. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And then after I finish that, guys, let's get into what am I going to read. After I finish Malazan, this bad boy is next. I told you guys last week that the publisher told me they were finally sending this to me. Well, they did. Actually, that evening, I got this. And then they okayed my digital one the same day as well. So I don't know what the problem was, what the holdup was, but who cares? Because I haven't even started it yet. And here's the thing: is like I really wanted to. I was like, I'm not stopping in the middle of Mal. I did it for Stephen King, because guys, that was a one-day read, okay? And that's Stephen King, that's my guy. I wasn't going to stop this to read another big chunky fantasy book in the middle of Dead House Gate. So that's the one that's on the schedule. I've got until the beginning of May to get this one done, but I will be picking it up right afterwards. And if you guys think I'm not excited about this, you have no idea. Let me put it into terms maybe you'll understand. If I went into a bookstore and there were 3 new books from Joe Abercrombie, Brandon Sanderson, and John Gwynne, I'm picking up Joe Abercrombie first, because that's my favorite working modern fantasy author. I'm picking up John Gwynne second. Yeah, so that tells you how important this book is to me to read next. And I can't wait, because I've heard awesome stuff about it. Then after that, we're going to continue with the Michael Crichton read-along. I don't know if you guys know, if we are doing a Michael Crichton read-along on the channel over the next year and a half, one book per month. And the book for March is going to be The Terminal Man. This is one I haven't read since high school. Most of these I haven't read since high school, but there's other ones that I feel like I've dipped into again over the years. But The Terminal Man is one I was one and done on that. I don't recall a lot about it. I remember thinking it was very Twilight Zone-ish, or for you more modern people, it's very Black Mirror-like. So some people in the Discord have already started. Hell, some have already finished with it. But lots of people are saying that they're pleasantly surprised with it, and I think that's because it's just one that, there was a movie, but it wasn't like quite before. It was quite before Michael Crichton movies were just like, a thing. thing. That really there in the 90s where they blew up, where anything he wrote, much like King, they were adapting, and everybody knew that it was a Michael Crichton movie. With Terminal Man, it was really before all of that, I think, and maybe that's why it doesn't have as much influence on the pop culture as a lot of his other stuff did. But I'm looking forward to dipping back in there. And then, guys, then I'll be diving into the last book in Farce here. This is from a lovely viewer, Jen in Minnesota. Thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for this. I'm going to have it in my book haul too, so I'm going to be thanking you twice. But this is just such an awesome gift. I cannot say enough how much this meant to me to open this and see this on release day. Very, very nice. And it's going to be wonderful to wrap up. It's a big old boy too, isn't it? I think it's almost twice the size of Assassin's Apprentice. It's so massive. So I can't wait to wrap up that Farseer here in March. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't really have much bad things to say about it. I've reviewed those first 2 books, and I'll be reviewing this one as well, because apparently that's something you guys wanted me to do, was to review all of the Robin Hobb books, and I've got no problem with that. I've had some questions about, well, when are you going to be doing Live Street Traders? You jumping right in? No, I got a couple things I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be talking about my spring TBR soon, but I'll just say in April and May, guys, my series is Hyperion and Fall of Hyperion. And then over the summer, June, July, and August, me and some people from the Discord, we're going to be doing The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So after that, so it'll be kind of a fall thing before I dip back into Robin Hobb. But I also know me, and I know that I'll get excited, and I'll go ahead and probably do it anyway. But I actually don't have those books yet, so I might have to actually probably buy those on digital in case they continue this collection. Now, I know these were for the 25th anniversary, so I know that they're if they wait for the 25th anniversary on live ship, I'll be waiting for a while. I'm just hoping that these sold well enough that they'll say, hey, let's just redo the whole Realm of the Eldlings in that style. Because I'd love to have the whole sets in that style, because those hardcovers are some of the most beautifully put together hardcovers I've ever really seen. But after that, guys, if I've got spare time, and I doubt it, yeah, a little candy. Look, the Netflix trailer came out, and I actually was quite impressed with it. So say what you want, but sometimes, you know what? It's okay to have a little bit of candy in there. If not, I'll probably go to All Systems Red by Martha Wells. But that's the big ones right now. And then I'm going to hope that I have time left in the month to finish Sun Eater number 3. So that's everything I plan to read here in the near future. Let's talk about this week on the channel. We went ahead and we wrapped up February. And I know you guys don't like it when I say that the channel growth is stopping. But I mean, just look at, since I've done that video, I think I've picked up like 15 subscribers since I made that video. Like it happens to everyone. You eventually hit that ceiling. Not saying it's going to stay there permanently. Something can go viral again, like that horror video did, and it can get you a lot of new eyes. But for right now, it's stabilizing. And again, I didn't mean to really go in on it like that about how I'm fine with that. What I was trying to say, it was a good thing. That I'm glad with it. I'm very, very happy with this community. And my goals going forward is just that I can get people to watch stuff outside their comfort zone. And what I mean by that is, for example, I did a review for Interview with the Vampire yesterday, and it got maybe 1,200 views. And I know that that's not really the target kind of story for the channel like this. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I want people to watch the channel that will be interested in hearing me talk about books that they either don't really have an interest to read, or they just, they might have never thought it'd be something they would read. I want them to actually watch something I put out that isn't just because it's a book that they love. I mean, that's the whole reason I went to the non-spoiler format, was that the channel would be more accessible to everyone. So my goals going forward, or when I talk about books that aren't just Sword and Shields fantasy, that I can get people to click on those and watch those videos. That's my goal for the channel going forward, is getting not more engagement, because I think engagement levels are fine, but get more eyes on content that is outside of people's comfort zone. That's kind of my goals going forward. But as far as Interview with Vampires, the series, I don't say it's a series that I love, because it's a love-hate relationship with the Vampire Chronicles. But those early years are some of my favorite vampire stuff ever written. And I just wanted to talk about that, because I think Lestat just the coolest cat. And one of the coolest literary people I've ever seen created. So I hope more people will check that video and check out that book. And then, of course, I did my Dead House Gates spoiler talk number 1. As I kind of talked about earlier, there's plenty to talk about when it comes to a Malazan book, because it's one of those things while you're reading it and you're like, wow, I just read like 200 pages and nothing happened. And then you go back and think about it, you're like, yeah, actually quite a lot happened, especially when you turn on the camera and start talking about it. And you realize, oh, it's been a half hour. I got to actually not be able to talk about everything that I wanted to talk about. So, yeah, with that, I'm just hoping that it was helping some people that maybe like me that were struggling with the first half of that book, maybe it will help them get through some of those parts. Like I know Ashley on our Discord, she was thinking about quitting, and a lot of us just kind of said, hey, I was having the same problem there, and once I got through this part, it got really good. And you know what? She actually passed me and finished today. So, but she's also a cyborg when it comes to reading. So we won't talk about that. But yeah, I hope it can help other people that are kind of struggling with the first half of that book. See, hey, it's okay. It's normal. This is going to happen with Malazan books, guys. You're not going to understand everything. You got to learn to go with the flow. And it doesn't mean you're not liking the book. It just means that you're not getting everything. And it's a new experience for a lot of readers. Is they don't ever feel like they don't understand what's going on with most things that they've read before. So it's a new experience for them, and I want to show them that I'm having that same experience that you guys are. And it's let's just say the second half really good. And I can't wait to talk about it when I do number 2 here in a couple of weeks. And then, of course, I did talk about Later by Stephen King. That was an unexpected thing. Not even really what I call a review. I call it like instant reaction and overall thoughts because I didn't do the standard review. It was just something that just completely surprised me and I wanted to talk about. Because, look, it's not a shock that I liked a Stephen King book. That's never anything new. It's a surprise that it was a book that I wasn't excited about, and it completely blew me away. And you'll see that from a lot of constant readers right now, is that it was a book everybody was looking forward to Billy Summers. They weren't looking forward to Later, and Later just completely knocked our socks off. And it is classic, vintage 80s horror Stephen King. It really, really is. And it's just such a spectacular read. And if you're a constant reader, you're going to be completely blown away by some of the connections he has to the multiverse in it. So good. But just a great coming of age story. I think the way I said it was it's kind of like a shorter version of Revival, but more of a horror story than Revival was. And I thought Revival had some great moments of horror in it. So I loved Revival. So that's a very, very high compliment coming from me. Later, so good. Read it in one day. I would read it again. It was really that good. So if you haven't picked it up, I hope that you will, because I think you will really like it. It isn't just for the constant readers. Some things will make a little more. I don't even say that it'll make more sense. What I said with the multiverses. It's not like this isn't like the MCU, guys. You don't have to see every movie to understand what's going on with the multiverse. It's just if you do know those things, it's almost like extended Easter eggs. I don't want to say it's just Easter eggs because there are some things that make sense more on a different level, but it's nothing that ever you're going to misunderstand the story because you don't know what he's referencing. He doesn't do it like that. His books are all accessible, except the Dark Tower ones. You have to read those in order. Other than that, you can read his books in any order and they're all going to make sense to you as a standalone, and Later is no different. So please, I hope you'll pick that up because it's a really, really good time. Let's talk a little bit about next week plans. I already talked about. I'm going to be doing my book haul. And guys, again, I am overwhelmed by your generosity. I have to buy another shelf soon. The good old CDs over there are going bye-bye. I'm going to be taking those into a different room and getting another shelf next to that one right there. And I don't know, guys. After that, I might be screwed. I don't know where else I'm going to kind of put them after that. But again, like I always say, these are good problems to have. And I am just completely overwhelmed by your generosity on the things that you guys keep sending me. And, it's okay to treat yourself once in a while. And I did treat myself on a couple of things that I'll talk about when I get into that book haul for February. Then because I booted it this week for the Stephen King video that I unexpectedly did, I'm going to do my favorite Red Rising characters. That was obviously something I wanted to do. I was just so flabbergasted by that Stephen King book. I just had to turn on the camera and talk about it. So I didn't get to do that one this week. But I definitely want to talk about Darrow and Severo in the game and all of my favorite Red Rising characters. And maybe that'll kind of lead into getting into the other side of that new series, favorite, most hated. And I get into some of my most hated characters in some other series because a book's only as good as the characters that you hate as well, right? So there's plenty to talk about. I think it's going to be a fun new series to get into, and I'm looking forward to keeping it going. Then I will be continuing another series, which is Into the Multiverse. The one for March is Misery. I think just about everyone has either seen the movie or read the book, so I think it'll be a fun one to talk about. One I think that is more accessible than the Dark Tower ones are. I know a lot of people were interested in Dark Tower once I started getting to the sequels. They're like, well, I haven't actually read it. So same problem I talked about earlier. People haven't watched that, which I understand that one because I said with the Dark Tower videos, it's like, well, I got to talk about the previous book. So, I understand if you don't want to be spoiled on that. But talking about Misery, talking about the few multiverse connections in that story that I didn't even notice until I read it again about 2 years ago. And there's a couple of things in there that I noticed that I never noticed before. But Misery, yes, one of the... I wouldn't say a top 10 Stephen King book for me. It might be. I don't know. I don't know if I could ever make that list, guys. It changes so damn much. But it's definitely one of the more memorable ones, and pretty much the epitome of all like hostage stories that I would ever read after that. Just such a great, great villain for King, and one that has been obviously, replicated numerous times and parodied when you got good old Annie Wilkes with an axe. Yes, she has an axe in the book, not a sledgehammer, but somehow I think the sledgehammer was worse. We'll get into it, guys, when we do Into the Multiverse next week. I do have a couple of TV and movie things, guys. Now, I want to get this out here up front. I am not a pee in someone's Cheerios type of guy. If you are enjoying something, I love when other people enjoy things, even if it's something that I'm not interested in. I am not the one to kind of, shit in someone's Cheerios or shit in their cereal. I guess you'd say pee in their Cheerios, shit in their cereal. I was thinking of is that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? I don't remember. Somebody shit in their cereal. There's a blast in the past, right? But a lot of people I get asking me all the time, why aren't you talking about WandaVision? So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew this is because people have asked me why I'm not watching it. This is not one of those things where, I've never watched a Star Wars movie, look at me. I never watched Game of Thrones, look at me. I'm not doing that at all. Look, I loved the MCU. I felt like it ended with Endgame for me. It felt like the culmination of all things. Everything that comes after that was just kind of going to feel like a wet fart to me. I feel like all those secondary characters, they were really great when you had your lead acts out there on the stage, But I feel like following the MCU, in a post-Iron Man, post-Captain America kind of age, it just kind of feels like if you followed Michael Jackson's backup dancers after he died. Why do I care about them? So I never really had an interest, and I know everyone's like, oh my God, it's so good. It's like, but you got to understand that people say that about everything the MCU puts out. Everything MCU puts out, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and then it's like Ant-Man 2, and you're like, what the fuck, really? It could be really good, guys. I'm done with it. I've moved on from the MCU. It's not, I've looked at the movies they've got in the plans right now, and I'm not interested. I have no interest in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I have no interest in WandaVision. Have no interest in Shang-Chi, the Eternals. None of that. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 might be the only thing I'm really interested in. Maybe it's a wait and see on what they do with the X-Men. And, Fantastic Four, I'd love to see Doctor Doom. But other than that, guys, I don't like the version of Spider-Man that they're doing, so that can't even get me on board anymore. So it's just a personal thing. I had a great time with the MCU. I'm definitely not detracting from it. It's just I'm not watching WandaVision because, like I said, it feels like following lesser acts, and it's just something that I don't really have an interest in. But again, if you guys are enjoying it, that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are loving it. Looks really weird to me, but that isn't why I'm not watching. I'm done. I'm done with the MCU. I don't really have much interest left anymore. Last one in the chronicles of showing my kids movies that I loved growing up. We watched his first Arnold Schwarzenegger movie a couple weeks ago. He picked Kindergarten Cop, and that was a lot of fun. I thought that was a really good introduction to Schwarzenegger, someone that my generation grew up loving, right? I didn't feel like he was quite ready for like Terminator or Predator or anything like that yet. So we decided last night to watch True Lies, 1994, James Cameron. Great movie. It's now, James Cameron has been so busy on his 19 Avatar sequels, he hasn't actually overseen a transfer to Blu-ray. Well, Amazon Prime is streaming it now, and it's in HD quality, and we watched it last night, and it is just really, really aged well. It's just such a fun movie, and it's one of those movies where everybody said, oh, well, after Terminator 2, Arnold never had another hit. You obviously missed True Lies, because True Lies has aged incredibly well. It's like basically all the best parts of a James Bond movie, but with Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the charm that he had there in the early and mid-90s, where he was just a force to be reckoned with. And it was really weird that the chemistry, you wouldn't ever think this, but the chemistry between him and Tom Arnold in that is just phenomenal. But there's probably some parts where I was like, I kind of want to be earmuffs on the kid a little bit. But, had a great time with it. And it's just a movie that's aged so well, like I said. And his one-liners at that point, "You're fired," were just so good. And so, even tonight my kid said, it's a snow cone maker. So it's a dream come true for me to have my kid quoting Arnold Schwarzenegger lines too. But that's all I got this week, guys. What have you been up to? What have you been reading? What have you been watching? What have you been listening to? What have you been playing? There are no wrong answers, as always. Drop in the comments and let me know, and have yourselves an awesome weekend.